Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. The leash struck stone just before the cub changed direction. One moment Oru was moving with the other young Malkari across the practice yard. The next, his dark shoulders dropped and his four heavy paws dug hard enough into the pale paving to throw grit behind him. Then he came straight at Jenna. Someone screamed. A metal stool went over behind her. Another juvenile barked in alarm, and the whole line of handlers seemed to jerk backward at once. Jenna had time to notice three useless things. Oru's ears were flat, something pale swung beneath his chest, and the loose end of his leash was bouncing from side to side like a piece of rope trying to escape him. She did not have time to move. The predator cub covered the last stretch at a run. Jenna Pike, the only unpaired cadet standing along the rail, lifted both hands because she had no better idea. Oru stopped so abruptly his front claws scratched white lines into the paving. His muzzle came level with her stomach. The yard froze. Oru looked at her right hand. Then he bent, picked up the loose leash in his teeth and dropped it into her palm. "Don't pull," Jenna said. She was not sure who she was talking to. Probably herself. Practicum Master Delcor's voice cut across the yard. "Secure him." Jenna looked down. The leash lay across her fingers. Oru's breath came fast through his nose. The skin folds above his forelegs were tight as cords. His weight stayed forward, but he had not touched her. "Cadet Pike, close your grip." She did not. Oru took one careful step backward. The leash slid through her open hand. His breathing eased. Jenna heard Delcor swear under his breath. "That is not secure." "No," Jenna said. "It really isn't." A few people laughed from pure nerves. Delcor did not. He started toward them. Oru's shoulders tightened again. Jenna saw it happen before Delcor took his second step. "Stop." Delcor stopped because the word had come from a human standing an arm's length from a Malkari juvenile large enough to knock her flat. That bought Jenna 1 second. She used it. Oru pulled backward again. The leash moved through her palm without resistance. His foreleg folds loosened. Jenna lowered her hand by a few centimeters. Oru followed it with his eyes. "Okay," she murmured. "You wanted this hand, you have this hand." "That's the full service package," a cadet behind her whispered. "He's going to bite you." Oru did not. He tugged once more. The lead tightened only at his harness. He flinched, not away from Jenna. Away from the pressure under his left shoulder. That was the wrong detail. Jenna looked more closely. The pale thing she had noticed during the charge was a ceramic swivel where the leash connected beneath the harness. One side should have been smooth. It wasn't. A narrow chip had broken away. When the leash straightened, the swivel twisted sideways. Oru flinched again. Jenna's stomach dropped. "Delcor, I see him resisting." "Look at the fitting. We can inspect it once he is controlled. That's the problem." Oru pulled. The jagged swivel rotated. His skin jumped. Jenna opened her fingers wider. The line went slack. Oru stopped for the first time since he had charged her. His ears lifted halfway. Jenna crouched slowly. She did not touch him. She touched the leash 6 inches below her own hand and lifted it just enough to take the damaged swivel out of tension. Oru exhaled. The sound was so long and quiet that everyone nearest them heard it. A medic pushed through the ring of cadets. "Do not alter the harness, I'm not." "You are holding the lead, I'm mostly being near it." "Cadet, can you see the chip?" The medic leaned. Her expression changed. "Yes." Delcor's jaw tightened. "Emergency release tab," Jenna said. The medic pointed beneath the buckle. Jenna saw it. So did Oru. He turned his head toward her hand. That was almost worse than the charge. He was watching her decide. Jenna had spent most of her childhood being told not to anthropomorphize animals. Her aunt had run a tiny rehoming yard outside Sheffield, where retired racing dogs arrived with paper records, bad habits, frightened eyes, and absolutely no interest in anyone's theories about them. One of the first things Jenna had learned there was that a leash could mean two opposite things: connection or pressure. The dog always knew which one you meant. Jenna slipped one finger beneath the emergency tab. "Easy." Oru did not move. She pulled. The damaged section released. The leash fell free into her hand. Oru stepped backward. Nobody stopped him. He could have run, he didn't. He sat. The entire yard seemed to exhale with him. Hold on to that detail. Jenna's hand still had not closed. The medic approached sideways. Oru watched her, but his shoulders stayed down. Surface abrasion, the medic said after a brief examination. No deep injury. Delcor looked from the broken swivel to Oru. How long? The medic parted the fur beneath the left shoulder. Long enough for repeated friction. The cadet assigned to Oru had gone pale. I checked the harness. Jenna looked at him. He was maybe a year younger than she was, thin, red-faced, and holding himself so stiffly that he looked like he expected the whole yard to point at him. Probably passed inspection when you checked it, she said. Delcor glanced at her. You cannot know that. No, neither can you. The young cadet swallowed. Oru looked at him. The boy took one uncertain step forward. Oru's ears shifted toward him, but his paws stayed planted. Don't take the line, Jenna said. Delcor snapped. Pike, I'm not giving an instruction. I'm saying what I'm doing. You are not the assigned partner. Very aware of that. That was the first time the absurdity of the morning returned to Jenna fully. She had arrived at Hearthline 3 days earlier after a transfer authorization had taken 6 weeks longer than promised. Every juvenile family practicum slot had already been allocated. She had not failed an assessment. She had not been rejected. She had simply arrived after the roster closed. The academy had given her an observation strip, a stack of supplemental work, and a cheerful administrative note explaining that she would join the next rotation. Until then, she was the unpaired cadet. And apparently the unpaired cadet was now sitting on the paving with a predator cub's leash across her knees. The medic cleaned the shallow abrasion. Oru disliked the spray. He disliked the cloth even more. He expressed these opinions by withdrawing one paw and making a low sound in his chest. Half the cadets flinched. Jenna didn't. The sound was not aimed at anyone. It was information. The medic changed angle. Oru settled. There, she said. Finished. Oru stood immediately. Jenna lowered the leash to the paving. He sniffed the broken swivel. Then he pushed it away with one paw. That's a review comment, Jenna said. The medic gave her a short laugh. Delcor did not smile. We still have an uncontrolled juvenile outside his assigned movement line. Oru looked at him. Jenna looked at Oru. He looks pretty controlled. He broke formation. Because the harness hurt. That is an explanation, not authorization. No argument. Delcor's eyes narrowed, perhaps because Jenna had agreed. Then step away. She started to. Oru's head came up. Jenna stopped. Oru stayed where he was. She took another step. Nothing happened. A third. Oru turned toward the family rest court instead of following her. The medic murmured, "Good." Jenna felt ridiculous for the relief that moved through her. The cub did not need her. Good. That mattered. Oru had almost reached the low gate when a deeper call rolled from the passage beyond it. Every Malkari juvenile in the yard reacted, heads turned, bodies lowered. 3 adult Malkari entered the court. The one in front was larger than the others by enough that Jenna forgot, briefly, that Oru had looked huge when he charged her. The adult's coat was iron gray over the shoulders and nearly black along the spine. Her foreleg folds were relaxed. A pale scar crossed the left side of her muzzle. Oru ran to her. No hesitation, no glance back at Jenna. He pressed his face under the adult's jaw and vanished against her chest. Jenna smiled before she could stop herself. "Mother?" she asked. The medic nodded. Seitha Ren. Seitha inspected Oru with brisk efficiency. Muzzle, eyes, paws, harness, then the shallow abrasion. Her head snapped toward Delcor. The sound that came from her chest was much lower than anything Oru had produced. The cadets moved back. Jenna stayed exactly where she was. Satha spoke through a translator unit at her collar. Pain. Minor abrasion, the medic answered. Equipment failure. Treated. Satha's gaze moved to the broken swivel on the ground, then to Jenna, then to the leash beside Jenna's knee. Human-held line. Jenna lifted both palms barely. Delcor stepped in. Cadet Pike prevented escalation while we identified the hardware defect that sounded much more official than what had happened. Satha approached Jenna. Oru came with her. Jenna stayed still. Satha smelled the leash, the broken fitting, and Jenna's hand. Then she looked at Oru. Oru looked back. Satha made a short clicking sound. Oru immediately returned to her side. Family first, again. Good. Jenna rose. My practical makeup window starts in. She checked the wall clock. Her heart sank. Started 11 minutes ago. Delcor followed her glance. The session was reassigned when you became involved in an active incident. Of course it was. You can petition. I've met Hearthline administration. I can petition until retirement. The medic covered a smile. Jenna picked up her bag. Her entire reason for arriving early that morning had been the possibility of squeezing into the final makeup slot created by another cadet's illness. Now it was gone. She should have been angry. She was, a little, mostly at timing. Not at Oru. She turned toward the gate. Something tapped the back of her boot. Jenna looked down. Oru stood behind her. The repaired section had not been reattached yet. The loose safety leash was still separate. Oru had picked it up. Satha stood several steps away. She was not calling him back. Oru walked around Jenna. Then he placed the loose end across her open palm. The yard went silent again. Jenna stared at the leash. Oru. His ears tipped toward her. You have a mother the size of a small vehicle. Satha made a sound. The translator supplied. Accurate. Several cadets laughed. Jenna looked at Satha. Should I give this back? Juvenile gave it. Yes. That's the part worrying everyone. Satha's eyes narrowed slightly. Does human intend to pull? No. Then hold. Jenna looked down at her hand. She still had not closed it. Oru sat beside her, not at her feet, not leaning against her, simply near enough that the lead rested loose between them. Delcor watched for nearly a minute. Then he said, Nobody record a conclusion yet. Jenna looked at him. That might be the most encouraging thing you've said today. By midday, Oru was back with his family. Jenna was in the family rest court with 3 pages of missed practicum forms, an untouched sandwich, and no cub, which was how things were supposed to be. Mostly, the rest court was warmer than the academy corridors. Malkari families preferred broad patches of sun from the high glass roof, so the furniture had been pushed around the edges while woven resting mats occupied the center. Oru slept between Satha's forelegs. One of his hind paws twitched. Jenna tried not to watch. She lasted 20 seconds. Satha noticed. Human studies sleep. I'm studying behavioral observation. Oru sleeps. That's what I'm observing. Efficient. Jenna looked at the form in front of her. Can I quote you? Satha lowered her muzzle onto one forepaw. Oru made a soft chirping sound in his sleep. Jenna blinked. She had not expected that. The Academy's safety brief had spent 22 minutes explaining Malkari bite force, acceleration, territorial response, juvenile startle behavior, and the importance of clear control geometry. It had not mentioned that sleeping Malkari cubs chirped. Oru chirped again. Jenna wrote in the margin of her form, Predator makes defective kettle noise while asleep. She immediately crossed it out. Satha opened one eye. Human rights. Nothing admissible. A younger Malkari cub came racing through the court, skidded, and crashed lightly into Oru's side. Oru woke with a snort. He rolled over, caught the smaller cub between both forelegs, and held him there while the smaller one kicked furiously at the air. Satha did not move. Jenna watched the younger cub wriggle free and flee. Oru chased him for 3 steps, then stopped because the other cub had crossed into the shadow of an adult. He turned around, saw Jenna, ignored her completely. Jenna felt a peculiar satisfaction. Good, she murmured. Satha's ear shifted. Why good? Because if he spent the whole day staring at me, Delcor would have a point. What point? That I'm now part of the problem. Satha considered that. Oru has many problems. Comforting. He dislikes floor cleaning machines. I've seen those. I'm with him. He bites his own sleeping mat when impatient. Less relatable. He attempts to steal shell fruit from his sister. Okay, no, that one's relatable again. Setha made the low breathy sound Jenna had learned was Malkari amusement. Oru wandered toward the family water basin. He drank, then he dropped half his chest into it. A handler groaned from across the court. Satha closed both eyes. Jenna looked at the wet cub. Still not my problem. Correct, Satha said. That became the shape of the next few days. Oru was not Jenna's problem. He also kept appearing near her. Never on schedule. Never when she wanted him to demonstrate anything. That mattered too. Jenna spent mornings in observation sessions and afternoons completing delayed transfer modules. Oru spent mornings with his assigned cadet, a Kethron boy named Leo Var, and afternoons with his biological family. Leo was the red-faced cadet who had been holding Oru's leash on the first morning. Once Jenna learned his name, she also learned he was not careless. He was terrified of making a mistake. That was different. The academy had trained him to keep a constant light tension on the Malkari safety lead so he would always know exactly where the juvenile was. After the broken swivel incident, Leo became even more careful, which meant even more tension. Jenna noticed. So did Oru. Oru did not charge again, he did brace. He slowed whenever the leash straightened. His foreleg folds tightened. Then Leo would shorten his grip because Oru had slowed, which increased the pressure. Neither of them seemed to understand why the other was becoming difficult. Jenna wanted to say something. She didn't. She was not assigned to Oru. She was not an instructor. And she had already lost one practical opportunity by getting involved. On the fourth afternoon, Oru solved the problem himself. Jenna was sitting on the low study rail outside the rest court with a bowl of noodles balanced on one knee. Oru appeared beside her. She looked at him. He looked at the noodles. No, he looked at her. No. He looked back at the noodles. You have your own food. Oru sat. Jenna ate one noodle. Oru's ears followed it. You are a feared apex predator. Oru's ears followed the second noodle. This is embarrassing. He lowered his head. The leash was in his mouth. Jenna stopped chewing. Oru placed the loose end on the rail beside her. Then he looked at the noodles again. No bribery. Oru picked the leash back up. He carried it to Satha. Jenna almost choked laughing. Satha took the lead in one paw, held it for perhaps 3 seconds, then let it fall slack. Oru walked in a lazy circle around her. The lead trailed behind him. Satha did not shorten it. She did not seem concerned about knowing Oru's exact position through tension. She watched him. That was all. Jenna stared. The next morning she watched another Malkari family. Same thing. Then another. Adult Malkari held the safety leads only when the juveniles were crossing a crowded corridor or approaching machinery. Most of the time, the leads hung loose. The humans and other academy cadets did the opposite. Jenna wrote that observation down. Then she crossed it out because Delcourt had not asked her to study handling technique. Then she wrote it again. At lunch, Leo found her. Did you tell Delcourt I'm hurting him? Jenna set down her spoon. No, he asked me to submit my grip logs. I don't know what those are. They measure tension. That's a thing. Of course it's a thing. Sorry. Earth gave up after rope. Leo did not smile. His hands shook slightly. Jenna's irritation vanished. Sit. He sat across from her. I didn't report you. He knows something's wrong. Something is wrong. Leo looked away. Jenna waited. I passed every handling assessment. I believe you? Oru behaved normally the first week. Then the swivel chipped. And after that, he doesn't want the line tight. Jenna pushed her bowl aside. Maybe he never wanted it tight. Leo stared at her. Then why did he comply? Maybe because complying and liking something aren't the same. You're not qualified. No? The answer stopped him. Jenna shrugged. I'm telling you what I saw. That's all. He gave you the leash. Twice. You say that like it's nothing. It's not nothing. I just don't know what it is. Leo looked through the rest court glass. Oru was asleep with one paw over his face. I was supposed to be good at this. You probably are. He charged away from me. He charged toward the person with no lead already in her hand. Leo turned back. Jenna heard the sentence after she said it. So did he. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Leo whispered, "Oh." That afternoon, Delcourt called Jenna into his office. His desk was almost empty. His walls were not. Harness diagrams, species handling charts, emergency flow maps. Photographs of cadets working with everything from floating gelatinous juveniles to armored quadrupeds. Delcourt pointed to a chair. Jenna sat. He remained standing. "Do you understand why we use standardized handling? So every student doesn't invent safety from scratch. Good. And so frightened people have something to do besides panic. Also good. And so you can identify whether failure belongs to equipment, training, environment. You have been discussing Oru with Cadet Var. Yes. You are not his practicum partner. Still yes. You are also not an instructor. Strong streak of yeses so far. Delcourt leaned both hands on the desk. Or behavior. Delcourt looked at her for a long moment. Why are you making my argument? Because it isn't a stupid argument. Yet you think the standard is wrong? I think Oru reacted to something. We know he reacted to damaged equipment, the second time too. Delcourt's expression changed by almost nothing. That was enough. Jenna continued, the broken section was already off when he brought me the leash again. That does not make it social. I didn't say it did. What do you think it means? I don't know. Delcourt straightened. I haven't encouraged anything. You sit in the rest court. I study there. You accept the leash. When he puts it in my hand, you speak to him. I also speak to vending machines when they steal my credits. This is not a vending machine. Very observant. Delcourt's. Then stop encouraging interpretations you cannot support. Jenna felt heat move into her face. Stare sharpened. Jenna regretted the line immediately. Not enough to apologize. He came around the desk. The academy cannot treat every juvenile behavior as intentional communication. That path ends with people reading whatever meaning they want into an animal's movement, agreed. Then what exactly are you objecting to? Jenna thought about it. The easy answer was the leash. The harder answer was certainty. You already decided the second handoff didn't mean anything because the first one had a mechanical cause. Delcourt said nothing. Jenna stood. Maybe you're right. But if you're right, you should still be able to prove it without pretending the second thing didn't happen. She left before her courage became stupidity. Outside the office, Leo was waiting. He looked at her. How bad. I may have politely accused your practicum master of ignoring evidence. Politely? That's the version I'm filing. Leo rubbed both hands over his face. He's going to suspend me. Why? Because I changed my grip. Jenna stared. You did. Today. What happened? Oru walked faster. That was all. No dramatic rescue. No impossible revelation. A cub walked faster. Jenna felt something shift anyway. How much faster? I don't know. Good? Leo frowned. Good. Don't ruin it with numbers yet. The following week was boring. Jenna began to suspect that boring was where most important things hid. Oru ate. Oru slept. Oru stole shell fruit. Oru chased the smaller cub through the rest court and was body-blocked by Satha without ceremony. Leo practiced holding the lead with more slack. He overcorrected twice and nearly stepped on it. Oru ignored Jenna for an entire day. Then, the next afternoon, he wandered past her study rail and dropped the leash across her notebook without stopping. Jenna watched him continue toward Satha. Was that for me? Oru did not look back. Satha's translator said, possibly insult. Excellent. The rest court became easier. Not special, easier. Jenna learned that Oru liked to sleep with his spine against something solid. He disliked sudden reflections. He loved a blue rubber ball belonging to another juvenile and was forbidden from having it because he always chewed through the seam. He made the kettle chirp only when deeply asleep. If Jenna moved the study rail so that a clear path remained between him and Satha, Oru was more likely to settle nearby. If she blocked that path with her bag, he stayed with his family. She began moving the bag before he arrived. No one praised her for it. That was good too. Then the equipment office sent a notice. All Malkari leads from the current training batch were being inspected. The chipped swivel was not part of a widespread manufacturing defect. Leo looked relieved. Delcor looked vindicated. Jenna tried to feel disappointed. She couldn't. If the hardware was safe, that was good. 2 days later, an equipment technician named Fira Mall stopped Jenna outside the rest court. Your pike? Depends on what. Whether this is administrative, Fira held up 3 clear evidence sleeves. Inside each was a short strip of woven training lead. Not administrative, then tragically yes. Farah handed her the first sleeve. The weave was flattened along one edge. What's this? Retired Malkari line. Academy use. She handed Jenna the second. Similar flattening. The third. Same. Jenna looked at her. Farah said, family use leads don't wear like that. The noise of the corridor seemed to recede. What do they do? Fray near the ground, get dirty. Teeth damage. Random abrasion. And hours. Consistent load polishing. Jenna stared at the flattened weave, constant light tension, the exact technique the academy taught. Did you tell Delcor? I told equipment oversight, which means they told Delcor. Ah, Farah took the sleeves back. He asked for comparative samples. Why are you telling me? Farah shrugged. Because the cub gave you the leash. That sentence moved through Jenna harder than it should have. Not because it proved anything, because it made the question bigger. The broken swivel had explained pain. It did not explain why Oru had chosen the only person whose hand was empty. It did not explain the second offer. It did not explain why he stayed calmer when Leo stopped holding constant tension. Maybe none of those facts were mystical. Maybe they were ordinary. Maybe Oru had simply learned that some hands pulled and some did not. That was enough. The strongest questions usually were. By evening, Delcor had closed the open yard to routine Malkari sessions pending a handling review. Cadets complained, Jenna did not. Lio found her at the study rail. Everyone thinks this is because of me. It's because of a training standard. I used the standard, exactly. He sat beside her. Through the glass, Oru was wrestling the smaller cub over a strip of cloth. Satha watched without intervening. Leo said, if they change it, every instructor has to retrain. That's usually how changing something works. My practicum score gets flagged. Jenna looked at him. Mine is literally blank. That's not helping. It helps me? He almost smiled. Oru won the strip of cloth. The smaller cub immediately stole it back. Jenna leaned her shoulder against the rail. Do you want the embarrassing truth? No. I think you're better with him now? Leo sighed. I said no. You listen more. Because I'm afraid. Listening while afraid still counts. He looked at her then. You weren't afraid when he charged. Jenna laughed once. I was terrified. You didn't move. Those aren't the same thing. Across the court, Oru suddenly stopped playing. His head lifted. Saithas did too. A service cart had entered from the far corridor. One wheel squealed. Oru watched it. The cart rolled closer. He backed away. Leo stood automatically. Jenna caught his sleeve. Wait. Oru moved behind Setha. The cart passed. He relaxed. Leo sat again. Neither said anything. A minute later, Oru resumed trying to steal the cloth. Jenna released Leo's sleeve. That was what the academy had been missing. Not courage, not dominance. Room for the juvenile to solve small discomforts before adults turn them into crises. The formal review filled the open yard with too many chairs. Jenna counted them once and stopped because the number made the whole event feel more serious than she wanted. Delcor stood near the central rail. Equipment oversight sat to one side. 2 Malkari family representatives, including Setha, occupied the wide floor mats opposite them. Leo sat beside Jenna. Oru was not in the yard that had been Setha's condition. No juvenile would be used as a demonstration prop. Jenna approved. Delcor began with the facts. The chipped swivel. The charge. The shallow abrasion. The second leash handoff. The comparative wear. The improved movement after Leo reduced constant tension. He did not omit anything. Jenna noticed that. It mattered. Then he said, "None of this eliminates the need for a reliable physical safety connection." Satha's translator answered, "No disagreement." Several Academy officials looked surprised. Delcour continued, "A Malkari juvenile can injure a smaller student accidentally. Intent is not the only variable. No disagreement." Satha repeated. Jenna looked at Delcour. He looked almost annoyed that nobody was fighting him. "Then the question is whether our current standard produces unnecessary pressure." Fira Mall laid the evidence sleeves on the table. "It does." One official said, "The wear comparison is suggestive, not conclusive." Fira nodded. "Correct." Jenna smiled slightly. Nobody in this room was making it easy. "Good." Delcour turned to Satha. "Family handling practices assume adult Malkari experience." "Yes, cadets do not have that experience." "Yes, so transferring family handling directly into academy procedure may reduce control without transferring judgment." Satha considered this. "Yes." Leo leaned toward Jenna. "Is anyone going to disagree with anyone?" "Apparently we're doing competence today." Delcour heard her. His eyes flicked toward her. Jenna looked innocent. He failed to believe it. The review continued. They discussed emergency hazards. Crowded corridors, startle events, medical transport. The difference between a connection line and a restraint line. Jenna listened more than she spoke. That surprised her. She had arrived ready to defend Oru's behavior. Instead, she found herself agreeing with Delcour repeatedly. A completely loose lead near moving machinery could be dangerous. A cadet who had not learned Malkari body language needed a physical backup. The academy could not tell students simply to trust the cub. Trust was not a procedure. Neither was affection. When Delcour finally asked Jenna directly, she answered carefully. "What would you change?" Default tension. "To what?" "Slack unless there's an immediate reason. Who decides the reason? The person holding the lead. That is subjective. So is deciding when to tighten it now." Delcour's jaw shifted. Jenna continued. "Train the decision." "Don't remove it," one of the officials asked, "and the leash handoff." Jenna looked at the empty stretch of yard where Oru had charged her. "I don't think handing someone a line means surrender." "What does it mean?" "I don't know." The official frowned. "You've been central to this review because the juvenile repeatedly offered you the lead." "Yes, and you have no interpretation. I have guesses." "State them." Jenna looked at Satha. Satha gave no signal. "That was answer enough," Jenna said. "Maybe it means he wants connection without pressure." Delcour's eyes stayed on her. "Maybe? Yes. You have defended this for days." "No, I've defended the fact that we shouldn't label it meaningless because we don't understand it." That landed. The yard became quiet. Delcour walked to the evidence table. He picked up one retired academy lead, ran it between his fingers, put it down. Then he did something so ordinary that Jenna nearly missed the importance of it. He straightened the stack of review papers, squared the corners, moved his cup away from the edge. A boring little action. Then he said, "Bring Oru in." Satha stood. "No." Every head turned. Delcour did not react. "I am not proposing a test." Explain. "The formal review is complete." Jenna blinked. Leo whispered, "What?" Delcour looked toward the officials. "My recommendation is provisional slack by default handling with emergency restraint criteria and mandatory pre-session hardware inspection." The equipment officer nodded slowly. The decision was not final, but the direction was clear. Jenna felt relief move through her. Then Delcour looked at Satha again. "I am asking whether Oru may enter because his ordinary session would have begun now." Satha watched him. Then she left the yard. Nobody spoke. 5 minutes passed. Chairs shifted. An official began collecting papers. Fira sealed the worn leads back into their sleeves. Leo leaned toward Jenna. "So that's it? Looks like you won." Jenna frowned. "No. The rule changed because equipment data changed, because Oru gave you the leash, because he had a broken swivel. You're impossible. Administration has documented this." The side gate opened. Oru entered beside Satha. No formal line, no demonstration formation. Just a cub arriving for what should have been an ordinary session. He looked around at the chairs. His ears went sideways. Jenna nearly laughed. Agreed, she whispered. Terrible furniture choices. Leo stood. Oru looked at him. Satha placed a repaired safety lead on the ground. Nobody told Oru to touch it. Nobody called him. Delcor remained beside the evidence table. Oru sniffed the lead, then picked it up. Lio went still. Oru walked to him. The leash hung from his mouth. Lio looked at Jenna. Jenna said nothing. This was not hers. Oru stopped in front of Leo. He lifted his muzzle. Leo opened his hand. Oru dropped the leash into it. Leo's fingers twitched, then relaxed. The lead lay loose. Oru stepped backward. No pull. His foreleg folds remained soft. Leo swallowed hard. Hi. Oru's ears tipped forward. Lio did not move closer. Oru waited. Then he stepped in and touched his muzzle to Leo's wrist. Leo's face collapsed into a smile so sudden Jenna had to look away, not because it hurt, because it was too private to stare at. Oru took the leash back. He walked to Satha, pressed his shoulder against her foreleg. Family first. Satha lowered her muzzle and touched the top of his head. Then Oru turned. He saw Jenna. The yard had become perfectly still. Jenna's stomach tightened. No, she whispered. Not rejection. Warning. Do not make this about you. Oru came anyway. He crossed the paving at an easy walk. No charge. No panic. No broken hardware. No frightened crowd moving away from him. He stopped in front of Jenna. The repaired lead hung from his mouth. Jenna lowered one hand, palm up. Oru placed the leash across it. She did not close her fingers. He stepped backward. The line stayed slack. He stepped backward again. Still slack. Then he stopped. He could leave. He didn't. Jenna could pull. She didn't. Oru lowered himself onto the paving. The repaired lead made a soft curve between them. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Delcor asked, very quietly, Satha Ren. Satha looked at him. Does this posture have a formal meaning? Satha's translator clicked. Not posture. Delcor waited. Choice. Jenna looked down at Oru. Satha continued. Malkari young carry connection line before they understand every danger. Adult takes line when danger exceeds young judgment. Delcor nodded. And giving the line voluntarily means young accepts hand. As handler? No. As family? No. Satha looked at Jenna. Hand can be outside family. Jenna's throat tightened. Satha moved closer. Oru gave line first in pain. Human did not make pain larger. Her gaze shifted to Leo. Oru gives line now without pain. Cadet does not make fear larger. Then back to Jenna. Juvenile learns difference. Delcor looked at the leash. Difference between what? Satha's answer was immediate. Hand that closes. She glanced at Jenna's palm. And hand that does not. Something in the yard changed. Not dramatically. No applause. No declaration. Just the quiet movement of people reconsidering what they had been looking at all week. Delcor exhaled through his nose. He turned to Leo. Cadet Var. Sir, your practicum remains valid. Leo stared. Sir? You followed the existing standard. Leo looked at Oru. And now? Now you learn the revised one. Leo nodded. Delcor turned to Jenna. Cadet Pike? Yes. You remain unpaired. She blinked. That's impressively anticlimactic. Several officials laughed. Delcor almost smiled. Your transfer rotation does not change because a juvenile has chosen to hand you equipment. Good. Leo looked offended on her behalf. Jenna wasn't, Delcor continued. However, your observation credit will include the Mulkari handling review. Also good. Do not make me regret that. Statistically uncertain. This time Delcor did smile. Barely. Satha stepped beside Jenna. Oru rose and returned to his mother without being called. Jenna let the leash slide from her palm. He carried it with him. Satha said, Malkari have words for hands. Of course you do. Hand that catches. Jenna nodded. Hand that carries. Useful. Hand that feeds. Very useful. Satha's eyes narrowed with amusement. Hand that steals shell fruit. Jenna looked at Oru. He looked innocent, extremely specific. Oru knows, I suspected. Satha lowered her head slightly. An unclosed hand. Jenna stopped smiling. The translator repeated it more carefully. Unclosed hand. What does that mean? Outside family adult young may approach with connection and leave with connection unchanged. Jenna looked at the leash now hanging from Oru's mouth. No ownership. No responsibility for him. Family responsibility stays family. No handler rank. Satha made the Malkari amusement sound. Human asks many denials. I've seen academy forms. Satha touched her forehead briefly to Jenna's shoulder. It was not a kneel. Not a ceremony, just contact. Unclosed hand. Jenna swallowed. Does it come with paperwork? Delcourt behind her said, unfortunately. Jenna closed her eyes. Of course it does. The revised procedure took less time to write than everyone predicted. It took much longer to teach. Cadets had spent months learning that a safety line should always provide clear physical information. Now they had to learn that the absence of tension could also be information. Delcourt turned out to be ruthless about it. Your hand is not a winch. A cadet loosened her grip. More. The lead sagged. Now watch the juvenile. Another cadet asked, what if it bolts? Then you respond to a bolt. What if it might bolt? Then you watch. What if? Cadet. Yes, sir. Watch. Jenna sat at the edge of the open yard with her coursework still unpaired, still watching. Oru worked with Leo. The difference between them was not magical. Some days were terrible. Oru tried to chase a cleaning drone. Leo had to tighten the lead. Oru objected. Leo held until the drone passed. Then he released tension. That was the entire lesson. Safety. Then slack. Not one or the other. Both. When the session ended, Oru went to Satha. Sometimes he never looked at Jenna. The first time that happened after the review, Jenna felt an embarrassing flicker of disappointment. Then relief. A bond that required constant proof was just another leash. She went back to studying. The next day, Oru ignored her again. The day after that, he appeared behind her while she was eating noodles. She saw his reflection in the glass. No. Oru dropped the leash across her notebook. No noodles. He placed one paw on the page. That is academic sabotage. Satha called from the rest court. Oru immediately picked up the leash and left. Jenna stared at the muddy paw print across her notes. Leo walked past. Unclosed hand. Don't. Your honored juvenile has destroyed Section 6. He is your practicum partner. Only during scheduled hours. Convenient. Delcourt arrived with another stack of forms. Jenna looked at them. No observation credit. Still no. Mandatory, then especially no. He put the forms on top of the muddy page. You missed your original makeup window. I remember. The next rotation opens next month. Jenna looked up. So I get paired, if your transfer standing remains clear. She glanced through the glass. Oru was lying beside Satha, chewing something he had definitely not been given. Good. Delcourt studied her. You sound surprised. I thought the unclosed hand thing might complicate it. It is explicitly non-custodial. Satha made sure of that, and you are still a cadet. Tragic. You also still need the practical credit. More tragic. He started away. Jenna called after him. Delcourt. He stopped. Thanks. He nodded once, then pointed toward her notebook. Section 6 is unreadable. Talk to your Malkari consultant. Oru's ears moved at the sound of his species name. He did not get up. The month turned. The open yard changed with it. New juveniles arrived. New cadets arrived. New people made the old mistakes. Hands too tight. Bodies too square. Too much desire to control before understanding what needed control. Delcourt corrected them. Leo corrected them. Sometimes Jenna did, but only when asked. That part mattered to her. Unclosed hand never became instructor. Never became handler. Never became a badge she could use to walk into family space. It meant Oru had once decided her hand was safe to approach. Nothing more. Nothing less. On the first morning of the new rotation, Jenna received her practicum assignment, a small silver-furred juvenile from a non-Malkari species. Completely different body language, completely different safety equipment, completely uninterested in Jenna's previous experience. Perfect! Oru saw them from across the yard. He stared. Jenna stared back. Jealous. Oru yawned. Rude. Her new juvenile tried to climb onto her boot. Jenna spent the next 20 minutes preventing it from eating a fastening clip. By lunch, she was exhausted. Seitha found her in the rest court. Human paired. Apparently. Good. I thought Oru might file an objection. Oru filing shellfruit theft. Jenna looked toward the family mat. Oru was asleep. One paw covered his nose. Kettle chirp. Soft, ridiculous, familiar. Jenna smiled. Later that afternoon, Oru woke and wandered toward the open yard. Seitha let him. Leo was speaking with another cadet near the gate. Jenna sat on the study rail, cleaning mud from the buckle of her new practicum kit. Oru stopped beside her. The repaired Malkari safety lead hung from his mouth. Jenna held out one hand, palm open. Oru placed the leash across it. He backed away. The woven line uncoiled between them. Jenna did not close her fingers. Oru reached the edge of the rest court. Satha waited beyond him in the sun. He turned once. The leash still lay loose across Jenna's palm. Then Oru carried the other end back toward his mother, the whole line resting in a soft curve above the warm stone.